pause to check it, but oh, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
She got it.
I'll talk in slow motion. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting, Greenwood City Council, this Monday, July the 1st, 2024 at 7:03 p.m. Mr. Derry, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Stacey Brown.
Here.
Ralph Meeker.
Here.
Tim Terry.
Here.
Roger Rainwater.
Here.
Steve Tedford.
Here.
Rod Powell.
Here.
Is the quorum.
Thank you very much. If everyone would please stand, we'll begin our meeting this evening with a prayer by Nick Coleman from Freeville Baptist Church, followed by a pledge of allegiance by Chief Brad Hobbs.
Let's pray. Well, God, we're thankful for another day. We're thankful for the blessings that you have given to us, the blessings of life and of health, and the blessings of where you've allowed us to live. And so, Lord, we thank you for all that you have done for us. I pray, Lord, tonight that in this meeting, that you would grant these men your wisdom, that as they look to lead our community, that they would look to you in ways that they can honor and glorify you through what is said and done here tonight. We thank you for all that you've done for us up to this point. We thank you for your grace and for your mercy and for the salvation that you've given to us through your son, Jesus. We thank you for all the many things that you've done. We thank you for the day. We thank you to be gathered here tonight. We just ask that you meet with us in Jesus' name, and amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would ask council for consideration of approval of the minutes for the June 3rd regular council meeting and June 11th special call city council meeting.
I make that motion.
Second. Thank you. Have a motion. Second. Excuse me.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Meeker.
Yes.
Mr. Terry.
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater.
Yes.
Mr. Tedford.
Yes.
And Mr. Powell.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you very much. Recognitions and acknowledgements. I want to recognize that I've been challenged to make this last about an hour tonight. So if I seem very speedy, there we go. I've got a couple of challenges, but we're going to take care of business. We do have a very special acknowledgement, one for sure. Several of us attended the 90th anniversary of the Arkansas Municipal League Conference just a couple of weeks ago, I guess. And some of us came back with hardware. And if I didn't tell you who it was, you'd think it was me, right? Well, it's not. It is our very own city clerk treasurer, Charlotte Derry. And I'm going to read this plaque, and then I'm going to come out front and get my picture made with it.
Oh, my goodness.
Even though I'm not Mark Hayes it's already been presented to her by Mark Hayes at the Municipal League, who's the director. So this was a big deal and is a big deal. It's an Adrian White Municipal Leadership Award in honor of former Mayor Adrian White of Pocahontas, who served as league president in 1971. It's hereby bestowed upon the Honorable Charlotte Derry, City Clerk Treasurer of Greenwood, for 6 years of dedicated service to the members of the Arkansas Municipal League, presented at the Arkansas Municipal League 90th Annual Convention, June 14, 2024. So, round of applause for Ms. Derry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I should see. You also have. I have a little bit of
Wish I thought of that. He's been a part of the Fayetteville area for a while. He's with Walmart right now. So I'll pass the photo on. If I knew you.
The mayor was appointed as the first vice president of the Arkansas Municipal League. I believe this is a first for the city of Greenwood. And he really deserves a round of applause because I believe next year that means he's really probably going to be president of the Municipal League that year. So that's a big deal.
Thank you. That's the only reason I gave her that plaque, so she would go ahead and mention mine. No, I'm kidding.
That's
That is a true honor, and it is bestowed upon me. I'm not bragging, but I couldn't believe it when the mayor told me, but it's done by your peers. It's past presidents vote on this only. So it's a pretty big deal. So I'm
It is.
excited about it. I think I've got the league scared to death if I become president, if I don't get impeached first. So anyway, thank you. We'll be moving on. Recognize everybody here tonight. Thank you for coming. Got a good crowd. We'll go right into committee reports. Excuse me. I have not had a chance. I was in Little Rock today to see what all we've got, but I think everybody's turned them in for the most part. Nobody's here from the Boys and Girls Club, SRCA. Frank's here. Thank you for coming, sir. Parks Commission, Joel, do you have anything specific? Water Wastewater Commission, I don't see members. So if anything's missing or if you don't have a report, let me or Danielle know. We'll get whatever you need. Citizen Forum, no one has signed up. So we'll move on. I'm looking real quick. I know we probably do. Is cards on the agenda or?
It could be added.
We got to add them. Okay. So with the council's blessing, I need to add number 11, I guess, unless you don't want to make this gentleman wait all night. Where'd he go?
Moving to the first.
That's moving first.
Are you going back to Little Rock? Russellville? That's close enough. Are you guys okay putting him up front?
Put him on first.
Well,
Price increase.
it's a price increase. He can wait.
Price increase for sanitation contracts.
Yeah. So we'll put that on the new business, I guess. We're going to move it to the top. I think they're okay. Okay. Citizens, I've already done citizens financial report. Mr. Marsh.
Oh, there's another one to be added.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's the Sally Port. It's the resolution.
Do what? Yeah, but we just going to need to add it.
Yeah, but I forgot to say, they're in
Yeah.
additions.
Okay. So
Number 12.
we'll add number 12 as a resolution by the police department. Okay. Okay, Mr. Morris. Sorry.
Okay, I have about 30 minutes presentation. No, not really. This will be quick. Just want to remind you that there is scheduled on the 10th, and I think we're going to move it. The budget study review session for the quarter end. And I think we moved it to, or planning on moving it through the
I
16th.
was going to ask council tonight.
Okay, so keep that in mind. We're going to possibly have to move that. There's a reason why. So I'm going to give you an abbreviated financial on tonight's presentation, just basically on the key factors. The city sales and use tax took a little bit of a dip as far as the month over month was concerned. So it affected significantly our year-to-date cumulative growth. We're still 0.35% above our budget. So we are higher than we anticipated, but not by very much. Pretty much it's right at our budget. I will let you know that city of Fort Smith and some of the other surrounding larger cities are experiencing a decrease in their sales tax. So ours is actually faring a little bit better. County sales tax, different story. We actually had a cumulative growth now of -0.3. That'll be the second month in a row that the county dropped. Our cumulative growth above budget we're down 4.8% where we budgeted. Advertising and promotion, I'm going to give you a revised number. The number that was in your financials did not reflect 28th Friday's deposits, which we accumulated today. So they actually ended up 4.76% cumulative growth year over year. So the A&P tax growth above budget is 0.24%. So it's down 0.24%, but it's theoretically, it's right about exactly where they thought, they meaning the entrepreneurs that have the restaurants in town that are prepared food sales, right at the 5% that they thought they would be at. As far as the city and the county, I want to point out on the top there, I don't know if you can see it, but the city sales and use tax cumulative is 4.85, but we were down month over same year month 1.6%. So I was wondering if we were going to continue to see those great rises in the city sales and use tax that we saw, but no, it's gone the other direction for whatever reason I haven't analyzed yet. I'm more concerned about the county because the county, it's 2 months in a row that we had a little bit of a decrease. Our total change June over June was 1.31% negative. So you'll notice we went from a 0.09% cumulative decrease to a decrease of 0.3%. So you're still looking at probably in that 1 to 2% range cumulative. So hopefully we'll even realize that. I got to watch that trend on county. And as far as our cash flow is concerned, the year-to-date net decrease in cash was 258,000 for the year. For the month, it was negative 382. It's been some accelerated spend now on some of the capital projects, mostly related to the wastewater plant and wastewater treatment side. The current fund balance, all funds at the, not really the close of June, because this being the first, we're still in the process of trying to close the book. So this was actually a couple of days early. These numbers are a couple of days early. 15,779 is down 1.5%, realizing that we're supposed to be significantly lower than that based on the capital projects. And on the capital projects, you're looking at current spend of 1.6 million on a budget which has been adjusted for resolutions that have been approved by the council to 14,020,000, which is a spend of 11.94% so far on our budgeted capital. And couple other things to just mention to you. Friday, we secured the loan for the splash pad, 5.75%, 5 years, 14,412 monthly payments over a 6-year period, 5-year period, 60 month. Total interest is $114,000 on that loan. However, the A&P grant committed $100,000 over 5 years at $20,000 a year to offset the debt service. Counters that interest to the tune of, it's basically costing the Parks Department $14,000 in the interest on that loan. Legislative audit begins their fiscal year 2023 audit July 7th. They're coming in. Those are the highlights. More to come at the meeting that we'll schedule for the budget study session.
You want to try to schedule that at the end of this meeting or now? We have to reschedule it because mayor won't be here.
So let's go ahead and do it now, I guess.
So what was proposed per his schedule too is the 15th or the 16th. 15th, of course, is a planning commission that evening. The 16th seems like it would be better. It's a Tuesday night. Anybody?
Tuesday night, what night? What?
The 16th.
16th?
July 16th.
That'll work for me.
Okay. Well, then that's settled. No,
Yeah.
Ralph can't be here.
can't be here.
Either-
Everybody else can?
Either one of those, 15th.
I'll be in Mississippi.
The 15th would be better for me.
Or you're leaving to get on the same
Either
time?
one.
Sir?
Either one for me.
Either one.
The 15th is a planning commission. They can move their.
Right.
Would that help, Ralph?
No.
No, he's
Either way.
through the 18th, said right. I'm good either. So 15th, raise your hand
I can do the 15th.
if you're okay. So 15th it is.
Okay.
What time's good? We've been doing 6?
Yeah. It's-
Okay.
I will move it.
Appreciate everybody with that. We'll get you caught up, Mr. Meeker. All right, thank you. We have taken care of the agenda additions. I'm assuming there's no other additions that council has.
I was wanting to discuss the bid opening.
Yes. You want it on the agenda or form or,
Agenda's fine, yeah.
okay, number 13. Okay. Okay. Moving on to old unfinished business. Number one is discussion of FEMA break grant. We had tabled this from the previous meeting. I believe we need to table this again. You want it? Okay. Either way, we're waiting on, we've kind of had not a snafu necessarily, but we're appraisals as of yet. You do up to an amount, I think, last time from the council. Is there something else that's bogging us down?
Just waiting on Arkansas Department of Emergency Management to allow us to proceed.
Okay. And do you think that's all together to do with those appraisals or? Okay. I'd like to leave it on just to kind of keep it up front and center so we can stay on. Is that okay with you guys, gentlemen? Okay, let's leave
Make a
that.
motion to leave it over.
Okay.
Are you on table it?
Table
Jim?
it. Yeah.
Table it, leave it
All right.
on.
Hunter, is that a 6-week deal, 6-month deal? When do you think you'll hear from them?
Can't hear me from back there. I'm supposed to have a meeting Tuesday with Tracy McKenna, following another meeting with the mayor that are going to attend. I'll have more information then. I honestly, I don't know right now. I think they've had some department issues at Adam, and they're trying to correct those. So they've had a staff shortage.
Okay.
So that's
Plus,
all I've got.
and Tracy, and I don't want to speak for, wasn't she kind of waiting to see how Fort Smith turned out or get more involved before or not?
No, not as far as the appraisals were
Okay,
concerned.
okay.
She just didn't want us to get ahead of their process.
Okay.
And they've already been through this.
Okay.
So. One of the things that this slowed Adam down, I know, is the response to normal parks. No matter what department you're in at Adam, you're employable, and so all those people that deploy that normal parks software, they're going ahead. So that's
Yep.
one of the reasons I think they have staff on.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we'll table that. Number two is the street. I'm sorry.
We just have one motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion.
Second.
Second. Sorry.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Ms. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Number two, streets, resolution to utilize federal aid funds for streetscape. We tabled it last month. I think we're going to need to do that again. I did receive copies, if you will. I didn't provide it because we're not really right there ready yet. I've got some copies of, or concept, I guess, pictures of what that streetscape is to look like. We got that from Elliot. I called him Brown last month. I apologize. Elliot Bell. So he provided that, but he went on vacation this week. So I wanted him to kind of help come back down and talk to us a little bit about that. And we don't have a real number yet either. So we still have, we've not missed a deadline or anything. So I want to do that. I want to leave that on if that's okay with council. Table it for another month.
I make a motion to table it.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
And Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number three, Councilman Brown, repeal, replace city attorney ordinance, number 22-08, second reading.
Yes, Charlotte, I recently awarded city clerk, dressed up the ordinance for me.
Oh.
And, she highlighted there what's ordinances are being repealed and replaced. And again, this is just kind of to just update our city attorney ordinance and kind of list all the duties that Mr. Plummer does for the city. And again, from a lot of the folks I've talked to, including Chief Hobbs, that, he's very pleased with the work that our city attorney is doing and providing for us in the way of affidavits and handling them here instead of having to go up into Fort Smith or such like. So I'd like to present this for the second reading by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Well, he just said, I'd like to present it, but I mean, he can make the motion. Is that what you want?
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Make a
Okay.
motion for the second
Yeah,
reading.
I thought he did. Okay.
All right. Mr.
So
Brown?
many words. Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
And Mr. Powell?
Yes.
It's unanimous. An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance numbers 448 and 22-08, establishing the duties of an elected city attorney and for other purposes.
Any further on this? Questions, comments? I didn't ask for that before, so. Okay. We will move on to what is now Mr. Blake Tarpley. Did I say that right? Where are you? Okay, I thought so. Is here from Cards. You have a letter that we received, and this is cut to the chase. Basically, it's a. I don't want to do it unjustly, but it's an increase. Where I can't. There you are.
It's at the very back of your packet, last page.
I'm sorry. Of their letter. Yeah.
I think
So,
it's last page.
Mr. Tarpley is here to answer any questions or make any clarifications if you need. Kind of self-explanatory as far as the letter goes. Basically, it's going 76% or 76 cents, not percent. That would be dreadful. So, per month.
I'm guessing you use the consumer price index for our area, our state, as opposed to a national.
I've got that it's just a little over a 5% increase, which given inflation seems to me reasonable.
Any other comments or questions? Or discussion, I'm sorry.
At the risk of sounding like a mule, where are we at with their contract? I thought I saw 3 years originally and then renewed once every year.
I put the contract on your tablets if you
I'm
want
looking at
to
it right
reference
now.
it.
I think that's right.
It's the
Once.
2019 one. I guess. Okay.
Looked like the initial one for 3 years, and then it was renewed on a yearly basis. I think I read that up earlier. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Seemed like it, but
Are you,
The term shall be 3 years.
Familiar.
effective
I
date,
think that's
shall
right.
Automatically renew for 1 year period unless terminated by either party. It's contract terms. 2E. I mean, I know there's not very many people who beat that price. I just wondered how often we go back and put it out for bids and all that.
I don't believe there's anybody else that can
Right. Oh,
service anymore.
I know you're right.
yeah, he doesn't know.
we'd like to have someone address the call center because we do get a lot of complaints about people calling cards.
I have addressed that.
Okay.
With his
Team?
counterpart, and we have a new contact that is answering us. very
Good.
quickly now.
Okay, good.
So I have expressed our concern and it has been taken care of.
I think I want to say too, and I hear what she gets, and believe me, but I think it's been fewer calls here specifically about things. I know we still get some. You're going to get some calls, and I know on Facebook there's, which is not always credible, but there's some things on Facebook. But typically, what I find out is those complaints are from the county
Yes, that's what I was saying.
pickup. It's still cards. I'm not trying to, but it's not the city pickup. We've not had a lot of. You can't make everybody happy, but it's working pretty well. Yes, sir.
Just so you know, the customers, the billing that goes to the customers is 50 cents higher than what their rates are on here. So it'll go from 15.60 to the actual consumer, the people that are using the service, to 16.36.
That's the 50 cents that we charge for the admin. Yeah. Okay.
And
What's that again, Tom?
1636 is what it's going to.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering on our city website or whatever, as far as the holiday schedules or whatever for the pickup. I mean, sometimes I guess last time I looked at it was like, I don't know, 2 years behind or something there. And I didn't know if that was
For the most part, everybody knows. I mean, we don't have any issues with holiday pickup. We don't have anybody mad or, I mean, everybody knows if it's a holiday, it's gonna be on the day delay. Unless the only issues that we have were when the ice hit, and
Okay.
Get a new holiday.
The exhibit A on the original contract refers to a bag curbside pickup and then the cart pickup, 96-gallon poly carts, I guess the big trash cans. There's two different prices for those. I don't know if both or either or. The price we're talking about, I'm sure, is for the trash can. Okay, I didn't know if the bag pickup originally was $12.65 per household per month. I didn't know if that was getting adjusted or if there's anybody
They don't do that.
Does that-
at all.
Just a can only.
It also talks about $250 for 20-yard receptacles for the city for citywide cleanup. That number has or hasn't changed. And obviously, while we're talking about the subject, I would sure like people to put their trash cans away.
Good point.
If your automatic arm could just back to the house, I'd probably please.
Yeah, if you can get that arm to sling, just catapult it back to people's yards. Trust me, if anybody complains, you give them my number. And I will certainly do it. Because I hate those cans being left out there. So does my mail lady wife.
Mhm. And that's the other person that fights with the trash cans all the time.
And again, how does it work for like big items or whatever that, if a person needs to get rid of a sofa or a gas heater?
All that pricing is still the same.
Same.
That's based on the contract.
They help you, Mike. They get two-
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our residents get 2 free large item pickups per year. And they'll call up there, or if they can't get through, then they call here, and then I send it to our contact, who will then contact our resident to get that scheduled.
Okay.
Our citizens utilize that much?
I don't know about here, but pretty much because there's nowhere to dispose of that kind of stuff.
Danielle could probably answer that as well as
I've
anybody.
used it.
You get the, Rod want to know if our citizens utilize that much.
Can you define that large pickup?
Anything that's on, like,
Well, come on.
I always tell Jason. I
Danielle
can make
Smith
that.
with cards.
Anything that's not gonna fit in a cart would be deemed a large item pickup. If you had a chair sitting out next to the cart, they will not pick it up. Because you better tell Jason. When they operate that truck, there's only one employee in there, and so they do not have time to get out, pick up the chair, because that grabber reaches out and grabs the cart and uses it. So a lot of times we'll have people call with couches or tables, things like that, and then they'll do a large item pickup.
Hot water heater.
And that's 2 separate calls,
Yes, they get 2 per year.
2 per year. Okay.
Yes.
Cause Fort Smith, I've seen them, they've got a big grabber that grabs that and chunks it in, cause I was behind them the other day in Fort Smith.
Yeah.
And I seen them pick up a computer with that thing and stick it in their little trash bin. I thought that was pretty cool.
So do we need a motion?
Yes.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We approve the updated cards rate.
Second it.
Have a motion and a second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We appreciate y'all's business.
Thank you, sir. I think Danielle's going to want a shirt.
Well, we get her.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
I think Tom made a thing that might be.
What's up?
That's today.
Yeah, but the bills have gone out.
Oh.
Gone out for July.
Do you need to holler at him?
Well, they were for,
They won't
they were
be
for,
done until the end of this month's bill. That will be collected.
Yeah. Okay. Did you, Danielle? That's okay. This says it goes into effect on July 1, which you can't because the bills are going out or have already gone out. So would you notify them of, okay,
That'd be August 1st, I guess.
the August. There goes your shirt.
so do we need to state that it's going to be effective
They need to
ourselves?
approach us before the month they want it due.
So just as far as our record here is saying it's going to be effective July 1st then?
Probably.
8-1.
They bill enough behind too. So like I haven't paid for July yet.
be paying in July for June service, but
Yes.
we're gonna be collecting the
Right.
money for them in August, and they'll bill us for July.
You want him to redo his motion August? Good.
No.
She's fine, Mr. Brown.
Oh,
She
okay.
said it's fine.
We all agree that August 1st is
August
what
1st.
that motion
Can we just
turned out to be.
Yeah,
amend
sure.
it or just state?
Yeah,
that
we'll
we
just,
agree?
no,
I'd like to
August
recommend
1st.
not doing that during an election
August
year
1st, yeah.
next time.
Really?
I'll note that there were no objections to that.
Good. Good point.
Almost voted no.
Okay. Now I'm gonna be off here.
I'm in position now. I knew
Oh,
if I was down there, I'd have voted no.
Yes,
You
number
got me,
4,
but-
right. True number 4,
That's
new
why they did
business.
it. That makes
That's why
sense.
they did it.
Yeah, the street ordinance repealing, replacing ordinance 17-13 culvert regulations, first reading. Mr. Turner, you want to handle this, or combination of you and Hunter? Okay.
And what I'm going to ask you for something tonight that I know you hate, but I'd like to go ahead and do an emergency ordinance on this. There's not a whole lot of real change in there. A lot of it's really administrative. The biggest thing that we are changing in this that the public will see is that we're going to install the culverts. That way we're sizing them. We know what's there. We're putting them in where they're not going to float down the stream. And so I've got several that I've kind of been holding off to try to get this in here. And I'd like to get them done during the dry season and when school's out. Because if we don't, 90 days, basically this is going to affect in October. And I'm behind the 8 ball then. So I know you don't like those, but since it's not really anything, I think that's too questionable in there that anybody would have any problems with.
I think that makes sense. I'm one of them that complains. Not as bad as Daniel used to, but
Yeah.
it
And
makes sense.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Of course, you kind of know where I'm coming from.
Yes, sir.
There's the new road on Webster,
right.
and you got a tile, and you know there's an existing problem in the neighborhood downstream. So what type of mitigation have y'all done or engineering to determine its impact on downstream?
The study that we have predates that. So I think we would have to have that study, at least for that part of it, because that wasn't there when they did it. And of course, he permitted it, but we didn't go out and do it. So we don't know necessarily what's correct there as far as the flow.
I'm starting to have a real issue with that. Just from the standpoint that literally I moved here in 1998 and I've been before 4 or 5 different mayors on this issue. And most of the time they're satisfied with telling me, well, Mr. Tedford, we can put in the drainage, but we'd have to cut down your tree. To say, well, I'd rather have my tree. The problem with that's been caused by the city for literally decades. So to not do any study and allow that thing to be put in doesn't do our neighborhood any service at all.
No.
And it doesn't reflect well on the city that it continues to cause a problem that is of their cause on the citizens in that neighborhood. So that I just want to bring that to your attention and I want to see where it goes. And I'm putting you, Mayor, on notice of that as well, because all of you have been out there and additional hard surface, and there's been nothing done with the direction of that. All of the water that comes out of those tiles is going one direction. If it flows to the south, it's got to go uphill.
Right.
If it flows to the north, it goes in the drainage ditch that opens up to our neighborhood and says, accept what we give you. And so I'm just putting you on notice, something needs to be done because you can't cause a problem and then add to it. You can't cause it in the first place but
I agree with
certainly
you.
Can't add to
Part of
it.
the problem is the developer didn't do us any favors on that thing.
Well,
Because so
But-
some of it has to go back to there because it shouldn't have ever gotten this way.
that statute of limitations.
I know, I'm
came and
with you.
went. So now it's up to the city, knowing that there's a problem, to do something about the
There
problem.
definitely have to be fences moved then for sure to get that done.
I'll give up the tree.
Fences, buildings, swimming pools.
There's a lot more than just.
You guys,
Everything.
okay, let me just tell you, you need to start doing the work to see what is the impact. You can't just threaten. Well, I'm not saying threaten, but I'm not just saying, let's,
You should see the utilities already marked. They're supposed to have been out there marking the utilities for us.
you know, I see utilities marked, but I want to see you all accept the fact that something needs to be done.
That's why you see the utilities marked.
Okay.
We just had that
We-
done.
We understand being put on notice, Mr. Tedford. and,
So we did
uh,
just do that.
We're
Okay.
working on it. Nothing happens overnight.
And then actually my guys went out we're going to trim some on be the west side Friday, and our Bobcat went down on us. We got it fixed, and now we're in a kind of a crunch this week with the holiday.
But be
Go ahead.
aware, when we get this plan and present it to you and your fellow citizens there in your neighborhood, we don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to venture to say that it's not just trees and fences, it's utilities. So just understand that that's a big problem. It's a huge problem.
Big problem for me.
And it's not a quick fix.
So who's incurring the cost of this?
Well, it's our
contractor
drainage,
or-
it's a drainage easement. So it's our responsibility. And so I think that's probably where Mr. Tedford's come from. I'm not sure. We're going to do what we need to do to try to get it workable. We addressed it, like Mr. Tedford said, a few years ago, and it kind of went nowhere because we couldn't get permission from the property owner behind you to go that route. We thought we had a route to go through the Walters property. Wouldn't bother you, wouldn't bother anybody, wouldn't bother a fence, but it would take some of and they didn't.
Did they communicate you? Did they
Yeah.
give you written
Not
documentation that
written.
said,
We didn't, once you got a verbal, you didn't need any written.
So
no, I don't necessarily agree with that.
I'm also,
Well,
I'm also
I
one.
can't
who's
go in
in-
there and put a backhoe on the ground without somebody being okay with it.
Well, I'm just saying that it needs to be done properly.
Absolutely. That's why
And-
we're beginning with one call.
And that means if you approach somebody with a document that says, hey, can we do this? And there's some correspondence. And there's just not been anything that you can point to and say, this shows we've done something. And that's what I have been asking for all this. I've asked for emails on this or anything to let me know that progress is being made. And still there's nothing. And then the last thing I saw was a new hard surface and removal of vegetation that only exacerbates the problem that has been in existence for decades.
What hard surface have you seen? I'm just wondering.
Well,
They have it concrete,
I agree.
access
Dirt-
road, that's-
dirt replaces the vegetation and it's got less. So anytime you take vegetation away, to me, it's considered a hard surface. There's nothing to retain that water. There's nothing for it to soak into, feed the plants, that sort of thing. So you've just got faster water flow coming down that area where it's nothing but dirt.
So I also live in this neighborhood. There's 4 of us in this room that live in this neighborhood. The neighborhood is stable, in my opinion, as far as water, but it's always had problems before. I think it's incumbent on the Greenwood Planning Department to make sure that the pre-development water rate be no greater than the post-development water runoff rate. And that's where I think that we fail in lack of planning. So if you build that and then all of a sudden houses start flooding, mud starts washing into the Williams garage, that's a failure on our planning department. And Charla, the city clerk, I want this conversation in the written minutes of the meeting.
Okay.
And But I think if anything floods, everybody's going to say the post-development rate of water was greater than the pre-development rate of water. And that shouldn't affect blowing up the entire neighborhood for somebody who decides to build. And I have no problem with somebody building, but an engineer should say you should run this road this way and you should have a little retention area so it slowly feeds off water and doesn't dump it on this area that's slightly prone but stable to some flooding.
And I do
And
think
I do
this,
want this in the written minutes of the meeting, and I'll look for it next month.
Well, of course it would be. Why would it not?
Even though, I mean,
She abbreviates
Okay.
stuff. Somebody's
this is, and I mean, of course, this is
Are you
not our
well,
current
I-
issue.
similar to the
I-
Maple Ridge debacle we had up there? a
Ye-
few years
yes.
back?
Yeah.
And you
that's what
know-
I'm thinking.
We had that in that Maple Ridge debacle. We had a good plan come through. Steve was here, and it was planned for a certain amount of streets. We had a change of directors. Another street was added to the top to accommodate people on the planning commission. And next thing you know, houses are flooding. We're up there trying to fight a house fire department. We're having to alternate fire trucks because there's no water. You don't have water up there. That's dumb. The city is failing at that point. Fortunately, didn't have entrapments and all that, but we were actually having it. I was doing it. I was running a pump. We had to shut a truck down, let one truck power back up, spray one side of the house, radio over saying you got it to where it's kind of toned down, shut that truck down, radio over to another truck, start that fire truck. That shouldn't happen.
Well, I'm just more talking about the flooding issue than all that fire suppression stuff.
Yeah.
That was a lot later, but
But when you go in there and you add something without taking account of that pre-development runoff and post-development runoff,
now, I don't have any idea what you're talking about right now.
This may satisfy this whole conversation. That developer has been notified that they're going to be required to submit to me, myself, a drainage study to develop any structures on that property. We do not have any regulation at the moment that there's a requirement on a drainage study for such reason or for a driveway, which is all that is at the moment. When they came to me for a culvert, it was just an access into the property. There was no restriction that there was going to be a house built on it. We have no regulations to control that. My suggestion is that if you want to control that, we need to have regulations put in place. Which state what you want.
which should come from y'all, should come from planning. You know, y'all have all month long to kind of research this, develop it or whatever, if this is a need of the city. So, because nothing's happened yet, but I worry about my neighborhood showing up in Maple Ridge. And we end up at Maple Ridge, pulling privilege license of a builder until it got rectified. And you know what? We messed around for 2 months. When we pulled that privilege license, he got on it. He had it fixed by the end of the following week.
Well, that's what I was going to ask Hunter. Are you saying that, yeah, you just okayed a culvert, just for like an access or whatever, but was later on a house built there and a driveway made, or?
There was a culvert put in and an access road that was dove up to the top of the hill. They have alerted me of plans to build one house
That's why they put.
in the future, which I alerted them they're going to have to do a drainage easement or a drainage study, just due to the circumstances surrounding the citizen in that neighborhood directly underneath it. But we're not to that point. It was just a culvert between.
I see.
This is good discussion and I appreciate it. And I really do. I'm not just saying that, but we need to stay focused and get this item taken care of. I think we've got a little off topic. Certainly, Mr. Tedford has a point and some discussion needs to be had. I just don't think it's pertinent to this culvert issue. I know it is a culvert, but we need to take care of this business and then.
Well, back to this ordinance, I make a motion,
I've got a correction I'd like to make on it.
Okay.
Before you make a motion.
Yeah.
On the definition of culvert,
What page?
page 1.
Okay.
Definition of culvert states, culvert is a metal, concrete, or plastic structure that conveys runoff surface water underneath a road, railroad, driveway, or any other obstruction to the natural flow of water, gravity, would like to change rather than to or. Just going to translate it into both.
I'll make a motion with the definition added that we put this on for first reading by title only.
Before I second that, I
Okay.
just say, I like the detail that you put in here, Hunter. I was just wondering, when you're talking about Exhibit A, there on page 2, could we make that Exhibit A, comma, A1 and A2, since you have 3 exhibits?
I was trying my best to keep those 3 documents contained in one location under Exhibit A. They all kind of relate to each other. We can change it either way. It makes no difference.
What are you asking?
They're all right. They're all right here. You know, it says Exhibit A and Exhibit A1 and Exhibit A2. Just change that wording to show that there's 3.
Oh, in the
References.
body? Yes.
Yes, it says-
A1 and A2, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Just identifying them all.
Yeah,
Right.
we can do that.
You agree, Hunter? I amend my motion to include that.
It's just
And-
these drawings.
And to the point, if I
Page 2,
can,
page
this is a baby step, in my opinion, kind of going back to what this whole discussion was a while ago. This is a little bit of a step for Hunter, and Sonny's not here tonight, but I know they talked about this, and Jeff especially, trying to get some things in place to fix. So in 10 years, somebody's not talking about this again, because it could be a matter of just some bad culvert put in wrong. So if we can get it where we can do things right off the bat, then we're heading in the right
That
direction.
whole area is kind of a sore spot, really, because we put in a whole bunch of legislation here a number of years ago to not have big strip mining go on and make our town look a war zone, and yet it still keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And we brought in plans to show how we're going to redress this. Well, we haven't. Now we're going down Damascus on the other side and tearing up Denver Street now, and it's just getting worse and worse. It's, I think, waiting for it to.
That Denver Street's getting me a lot of complaints. And I go out that way in the morning and dump trucks come out the back and they turn and they're not going to the highway. They're going to Fort Smith because I followed them. So I was sitting there thinking they're tearing up our streets and we're not even getting that point of sale sales tax, from destination. We're getting nothing other than tore up roads.
We do have a bonding mechanism. And I was going to ask, because I've seen on Denver where they're tearing up the streets there, I took some pictures of that the other day. That should be bonded for any trucks that are coming.
I think we're a bit off topic, but it is.
It is, yeah, we're way off topic, but
Okay.
yes, all of that is bonded. Believe it or not, I'm going to sound very sarcastic.
On topic.
Believe it or not, we are on top of these
I
roads.
still have a motion. We can discuss Denver Street at council forum.
I'm sorry,
about
motion?
that hour commitment.
I have a motion and.
I'll second it.
For the second.
Motion is second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
So Hunter, anytime we see corrugated pipe that it looks like it might be being used for drainage or something, we might need to notify you. I mean, because I just seem like, that's what it used to be, kind of, I thought, standard or whatever was corrugated pipe.
Took me out of this. This is all going back on the street department. That there was some disconnect, not between the street department and I, but between some of the rules and regulations and how they were to be applied. And so I spoke with Jeff and my director to see what we can do to make this process better. And Jeff made the recommendation to keep it all underneath the street department, since they are street drainage. That's the process, we're gonna be taking care of all that, so you would need to call street director and he would take care of it. So there are 2 different kinds of corrugated pipe, one that will be disallowed and one that is allowed. Single wall pipe will no longer be allowed, it will not hold up to the weight of any kind of commercialized vehicle. We don't want that on any of our street crossings.
I'll make a motion. We waive the second. and third reading.
I need to read the
Needs
title.
to read the title.
An ordinance repealing ordinance 17-13 regulating the installation and replacement of culverts in the city street easements, rights of way, and drainage easements, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
I'll make a motion. We waive the second, third reading.
Second.
Motion is second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
No.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Passes by majority.
Make a motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt.
Who seconded it?
Mr. Meeker did, I believe.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
And Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Make a motion, we adopt the emergency clause.
Second.
Motion and second to adopt the emergency clause.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
No.
And Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Passes by majority.
So from now on, the city's in charge of the culverts. Proper depth, proper culvert, bedded in properly.
Is this any culvert going into somebody's house, driveway,
Front of
city
churches.
street?
Any new culvert going in from now on, we will install.
I guess this is a little late asking this. How's the funding incurred? It was,
Wasn't there?
We're gonna do it the same way that it used to go. They come in, they apply here, they pay their money, and once they pay, we'll get notified, we'll get them on schedule. And we'll do it.
You give them a quote first, right?
Yes, we do.
And then they come pay it.
We have to go look at it first, see what size, but then they'll pay here, and then we'll go do it.
so that is, we're doing it properly.
Right.
And they're reimbursing us,
Or they're paying ahead, actually.
Yeah.
paying ahead.
Yeah.
But we're doing it properly.
The process is entirely laid out in here. It's pretty clear on how it has to go. It states that no work will be done until full payment is made.
Can they put up a temporary one? That wasn't clear in there.
Well, I don't think we allowed for that. It doesn't offer any solution for temporary access.
The street department was behind 3 months. Some,
Well,
y'all,
we're not gonna hold up something like that. I mean, we'll get on these when we have them. I mean, it'll be a priority because drainage is a priority for
Yeah.
my department.
there's nothing in there preventing you from contracting it out
I could-
to your specifications if y'all are tied up.
Right.
There was nothing in there that I noticed that prevented that, correct?
Yeah, it has provisions that allows for a contractor to install, and it labels provisions for them and then provisions for the street department that they were to install.
Okay.
Also designee is designee.
Hmm.
So that means he could,
There went my hour.
Yeah, that works
So-
both ways too.
So somewhat related to this, I don't want to get too far off, a drainage study for the entire town. Do we have, I mean, so when you're going sizing pipes, are you referring back to documentation?
Oh,
No.
well, with what we have, we're having some new studies done on different areas of town in order to do something.
So then you can kind of go back and do your hydrology engineering and say it needs to be 12 inches,
Right.
11 and a quarter. So we're going to call it 12.
Right.
Okay.
I had a quote from FTN Associates to do a citywide drainage study, but it was pretty extensive and pricey. So we're trying to do some as we go.
Piece.
Piecemeal it out, but I can dredge that back up and present
But
it
that,
to you.
I mean, but that's what communities do that don't end up in a mess.
It's what we need to do. We need to allocate more funding to future planning. I'm 100% sure of that.
Yeah, the proclamation of war on drainage 2 years ago did not come with funding, so that's my bad for not addressing that and trying to get some funding set aside. But for instance, I'll give you, for instance, what they're talking about. We've got the study currently underway from Maple Ridge Heights all the way down to right here, or basically right down here on Bell
Yep.
Road.
Yep. They were surveying in my area the
Yeah.
other day.
Yeah.
It's not as much of a study. I don't want to leave them on.
Right. I'm sorry.
We're getting
Not
the
in-
easement so
yeah.
that we can address some
Right,
of
we got to get the,
problems
it's
that we're
this
having in town.
crazy
We actually
process.
have 3 going on right now at the same time. The other one kind of goes middle of town here.
Yeah.
Down, and then one out in.
You talking about the one on Denver out there too? Is that,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
There's a lot of it going on. They're just not,
Drainage is important or we end up like Fort Smith.
Yep.
And they're in there buying houses and making massive craters and doing things out the river. It's all expensive.
Big water tanks to hold water.
Yeah, building water tanks to hold it, to
Yep.
slowly bleed it off.
Number 5 is the Finance Department Resolution authorizing virtual bank account for splash pad project.
As mentioned earlier, we acquired the loan and,
We can hear you.
okay, okay. So- And this is so we can isolate, it is a restricted, an account or restricted money specific for the purpose of constructing and paying for the construction of the splash pad. Right now, it is residing in one of our 8 actual funds, which is the general fund, and we want to then do a virtual restriction of that money. So it's not used for any other purpose other than for what the loan was acquired for. So all this does is by rule of the council or by the wish of the council, it allows us to establish a virtual checking account 11235 for the Parks Department splash pad project. Ultimately, this account will zero out as the funds are used and the project is completed. That's all it is.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 6 is also finance ordinance establishing electronic funds payment system. Emergency passage.
We are having a lot of problems right now, hopefully only with what you're going to be hearing about today. Specifically, it's utility bills that are giving us some of the problems. We have an enormous amount of accounts for utility bills. A lot of them are paid under the general fund. Several of the accounts are paid under street, several are paid under water. And we cut the checks under each of those funds for the numerous amounts of accounts. What we're finding lately over the last year, maybe year and a half, is that the utilities tend to just take it and apply it to the first account they come across, and then they say we haven't paid on all the others. Then they threaten to cut off our utility, and we're fighting with them to say, you guys aren't posting these right. We did research, enormous amount of time in order to show them that this check paid all of these bills, and yet you dumped it into one. And so we're going back and forth with them. And the quickest and easiest way, a couple of years ago, the state allowed us to pay our taxes, federal and state, through an electronic means. And we are doing that. Matter of fact, state now requires that it be paid electronically, not by check. So we have an EFT documentation process here that we use in order to justify and show the support and the proper procedures for why we issued the check, and all the documentation goes along with it. We satisfied 1 year's worth of audit on it already. They're going to be doing their second year's audit on our tax payments this year. We are given the ability by the ACA 459105EF 1, where it's referenced in your ordinance up there. The reason we're doing it by ordinance is because that's how we have to do it. It's by law, we have to do it through an ordinance. We want to limit the payments to utilities, taxes, both state and federal, which are already allowed, and the health insurances that are paid through the payroll accounts. We have from time to time some issues with, regardless of whether it's United or Blue Cross Blue Shield, whichever large one we go through. We have several different insurances, several different types, and sometimes they don't apply it or they don't get it in time, or the mail is a little late running as far as their collection is concerned of picking them up. So we want to limit and utilize it for those vendors that we in the finance department control. So we would go in and we would literally pay it online. We would pay those funds like we would be paying our taxes and like we would be paying the federals as well. It's a lot easier. It's a lot cleaner. We have the same supporting documentation that we would have. Charlotte and I will both be signing off on the actual EFT transmittal that would support what was done. We also retain copies of the confirmations of all the payments that are made. And we do all the bank reconciliation so we know what comes in and what goes out. Those will all be documented and satisfying this ordinance request that we're putting in here. You will notice that we have restricted this, although the law says we can open it up and it can be for any payment we want to make. We still want the directors to do the POs. We still want them to control that process. And until we see an issue that's getting to be prevalent, we're going to limit it right now to these types of payments. Right now, it's Cox, Southwestern Electric, Arkansas, Oklahoma Gas, Arkansas Valley Electric, Blue Cross, One America Insurance, Transamerica Insurance, Boston Mutual, AT&T, FirstNet, and Standard Insurance are the ones that we're looking at doing, in addition to this payroll taxes and workers' comp and various other things that we do with the state agency and federal governments. That's what this is about.
I do want you to know that back when I was doing the job, the utilities, especially SWEPCO, had such a difficult time. It is not a new thing, and it's been a frustration. Slows Shannon down like so bad. And we get these cutoff notices, and it's just because they misapplied our payments. It's been going on for decades. So this is a great fix.
Sounds like a cool.
And I appreciate that Tom wants to utilize internal controls by just making it where it's just for these stated things and not just willy-nilly and whatever. Just because it's convenient, you know. So I'm all for it.
It's either we cut a check and they lose the check and we stop pay on the check, or we get done notices, or we get late fees.
It's just
attached.
unnecessary.
This gets rid of all of that for the ones that are controlled.
I wondered how many late fees these folks acquire.
We fight them every time.
You win them
Some
every
don't.
time?
You know what I'm saying? Some
Yeah, but
don't.
it's exhausting
Yes.
to go through this.
Yeah, you get on hold, you get transferred over and over again when you call. You can't just talk to the same
One of
person every
them,
time.
is it the last one you had, it went through like 3 or 4 people trying to get a hold of somebody, right? I think
Yeah, we
Danielle
even
even.
got Danielle involved with
Yeah.
trying to get somebody we could at least, I even had you in my
Yeah.
office saying, we need a rep here
Yeah.
so we can show them, but it's very nightmarish. It is a very unproductive time when these bills come in and we have to pay them. If you knew the volume of utility bills that we have to pay, it would be much easier to clean them out really quickly.
You know, what all, you have a list of people that we, besides what you just rattled off there, but I couldn't write quick enough to get them all. But I'm talking about all the people that, you said we fight having over late fees and such, and we usually win or have always won, I guess.
Usually, yeah.
I mean, I was just wondering, do you know off the top of your head what companies that's talking about that we're dealing with?
Oh, we get late fees on electric bills and Cox and
You said Cox,
all of
Trinity, Blue Cross, Transamerica, payroll.
well, the insurances for the payrolls, we're already doing the payroll taxes and stuff electronically. This would just be another step that comes through our payroll that would be very easy for us to just not have to, one we didn't put on here that we would, it's a utility, it's James Fork. We literally run down there,
Hand deliver it.
hand deliver it to them every time, because you miss it by one day and that fee is significant and they
It's
don't
like a
back down.
$9,000 late charge or something.
So we
It's
run it
crazy.
over there, hand delivered. Mhm.
Well, I just enjoyed calling out shysters on social media, and I just want to get a list so I can.
The problem is they have such turnover in their people that apply this that they don't realize that this one check from general fund, even though we give them the remittance down on the bottom of exactly what accounts and what denominations we're paying, they tend to ignore that and they just go, oh, I'll put it here.
I don't know what happens inside of that place.
I don't either.
And whatever it is not helpful to us at all.
And sometimes it goes,
There's a whole lot of folks that have to deal with this.
sometimes it
Well,
goes to a
because we have
lockbox.
so many, like we have
I
a
know,
lot.
I'm saying
Hundreds.
a lot of people have many.
Hundreds of checks that we cut out.
I'll make a motion, we put this on for first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion and second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes,
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous. An ordinance establishing an electronic funds payment system in compliance with information systems, best practices, and authorizing written policies and procedures for the same, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. And by the way, we will be writing that up and giving it to y'all, I guess.
I guess by listening to your woes, you're asking for the
Emergency.
emergency clause. I make
Charlotte,
a-
you did not read what's highlighted.
Oh, yeah, I don't have the updated copy.
Yeah. Here.
I was one short. Here, I got it. Here, I'm gonna borrow Roger's.
got mine.
Let me read it again. An ordinance establishing an electronic funds payment system for taxes, utilities, and insurance premiums in compliance with information systems best practices, and authorizing a written policies, procedures for the same, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
I'll make a motion, we waive the second and third reading.
Second.
Motion and second, waive second, third reading.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Maker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes,
Unanimous.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion and second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Maker?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
And Mr. Powell?
Yes,
Unanimous.
I'll make a motion, we enact the emergency clause.
Second.
Motion and second to enact emergency clause.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Maker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes,
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Marsh.
Anything to help you.
Yeah,
Number
really.
7 is water wastewater resolution authorizing waiving of bids on wastewater air rehab project. Mr. Dalton.
In 2021 and 22, we received paperwork from DEQ stating we had non-compliance violations at the wastewater plant, which led us to a corrective action plan by the state. As part of that, we went through the facility to determine where those issues arose from. Part of it's just growth of the city. The other part was deficiencies from the age of the equipment at the plant. So the Water Wastewater Commission decided to move forward with the rehab project at the plant. And the last corrective action plan was presented to DEQ via me and an email in 2023. At that time, we told them we were moving into engineering. We were going to be in construction in 2024. That has not happened due to a backlog of the engineers. So I'm requesting a waive bid ordinance on this portion of that rehab project. It's going to be a 2 or 3 phase project, so we can move forward with that and start construction on it.
Water Wastewater Commission approved it and forwarded it on to you guys for formal adoption.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
Second. Motion and second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Maker?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
yes,
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Might as well come back up.
You got the next one.
Well, I think that.
Oh,
that's
Tim got this
Tim.
one? Okay,
Mhm.
sorry. Water wastewater repeal and replace ordinance number 215, water conservation procedure.
I'll vote.
Emergency passage. Okay.
Yeah, this is sort of a Band-Aid. We're just changing the verbiage a little bit as water conservation seems imminent. I think James Fork's already in it, a lot of the cities around water conservation. I kind of believe if you either go by the ordinance or change it, and it's going to affect the city if we don't change this, because even in phase 1, under section 5, it says the use of water from fire hydrants at any time for construction purposes, fire drills, or routine fire hydrant testing is prohibited. And with RDOT, some of the things we've got going on now, that's going to greatly affect that. And also number 6, we need to add the same verbiage. It says the use of water from city sources for compacting dirt, earth moving operations, or street-based course construction is prohibited.
So
And
Tim,
we would just like to have some discretion over that.
so Tim, you have the current one in effect. So your justification on the emergency is that there's contractors out there that could be opening fire hydrants in the next 3 months?
We have hydrant meters right now. RDOT's currently using one, and there's another potential project. Escapes my mind right now, but definitely RDOT. And last year we had the same thing, and we got through the most of it when East Village was being built, and then we asked contractors. They actually went to the lake and did some pumping. In some cases, you can do that if you're using it for. Sometimes you need fresh, clean water instead of depending on what you're doing. But if we don't do the emergency clause, there's really no point in doing it because it'll be we'll be into the fall by then. So
Are you wanting the verbiage added to that section 6 as well that says unless approved by the water department?
yes,
It's only on 5 on our.
it is. That's true. And when I originally thought we were going to modify the whole thing, and so those kind of shake hands. Those are kind of together. I mean, water from fire hydrants at any time for construction. Well, compacting dirt and earth moving stuff like that, that's construction, so they kind of go together. And at some point, we probably need to just redo this. This is 22 years old. Times have changed. Things have changed. But for right now, just to get us through this, we just need the discretion to allow some contractors to use fire hydrant
Well,
meters.
times have changed and some things have changed, but water conservation is pretty much, when it gets dry, we need to stop using it for a while or at least restrict. So, I'm sure there's stuff we can update on this, but
Right.
there's not much electronic internet usage on water conservation.
Do we have access to any of the pumps? Are they active for the mine water? Is that something that we could tap into for construction projects?
There's a pump hung up about 300 feet down in the ground. Ken Edwards asked me to buzz it one time, and it was going to cost us quite a bit of money just to have an electrician get out there. It's actually stuck. It's a very expensive pump too.
It's in my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's,
You have
no,
paint all over it?
pardon.
The paint all over it?
I heard something about that. I don't know. I really don't. But at one time we were going to have to get a tanker and get an electrician, and that's just to buzz it, just a quick buzz. And it's a high capacity pump. You don't get just a little bit out of this pump. It's a huge multi-stage pump. I wasn't really involved in that project, that the water treatment person at that time was, but it's a high volume pump, very expensive pump.
I'm just thinking, if there's water there that doesn't have to be treated, and it's not going to affect, the citizens of the town, and we can still use that water for construction projects, I just don't see why we wouldn't be.
Part of the problem is it's there, and even if you could get it to work, there's no way to get the water out of there now. Correct?
There's a pump hung up so many
But
feet down there.
I'm talking about
it's-
the easements to run it out, to distribute it, to get it.
Well,
into
you'd just back a tanker up right there
Oh, a
and
tanker.
pump it. But
Okay.
We're just talking about filling it up.
that pump that's in there,
Okay.
I don't know what the GPMs, again, I wasn't involved in that project, but so I'm not saying it couldn't be done to put an additional pump on top of that one, but there's huge wire. It's the saying 10 pounds of something in a
Yeah.
10-pound sack. That's kind of what we're at. It's got something hung up in it. You'd have to use that pump, and that pump hasn't been run. I don't know if it's ever been run. And it may be seized up. It may not. I can look into it if you'd like me to look into it, because it is a resource, for water. But in that case, you could just go to the lake. Greg allowed them last year to go to the lake and pump out of the lake. You can't get out of the lake Jack Nolan. They won't let you do that.
They're frowned upon that.
But and creeks, you can do that as well. But and I'd never thought of that, but it's a potential idea.
But
I
getting out
suppose.
of our lake, but we're in the same situation though. It's lowering the water.
Yeah, but
Whereas we
it's
use this.
it'd be like dipping it out with a bucket, though. It's not.
It's like immaterial or whatever
Pretty,
to the
yeah,
volume.
for tankers, but again, contractors, especially on this RDOT project, they've got a hydrant right there at the Masonic Lodge they're getting water off of, and as opposed to Hall and so on. And
Well, I think Ralph was kind of referring to under phase one restrictions. They could use that well water as opposed to, you couldn't get it out of the lake, right?
Right.
yeah, it could be done. It could be done.
Greg had said at the water wastewater meeting that phase one is not about the lack of water, but about more of regulating the flow at peak times.
Right.
That's what the importance of phase
It's-
one is the demand on the system. Is what he
Yeah,
said.
in phase two, we're still leaving. If we go to phase two, it still says that no water can be used out of a fire hydrant or we're still leaving that. Phase one, that's a little stringent for phase one. Phase one is every other day watering and things like that. And I'm just saying at some point, I think the whole ordinance might need to be looked at, kind of tweaked a little bit to make it smoother and more fluid. But and it's not just about the water. It's about it's about the electric, the hit on the electric grid. It's about your equipment, it being 108 degrees and your equipment running as hard as it can, trying to keep up with these peak demand situations. So we've still got water. We're not out of water. It's just hard to keep up with the pace.
Well, Tim, I kind of disagree with Ralph. I mean, if that water there is a resource, I mean, just in the event that we do have a phase two or something, that we have a real dry spell. I mean, if it's it's an expensive pump, but if it's not usable, it's not usable. It's just, and I'm thinking that, to try to maybe, if you could check into that just to see what it would be to try to make that well usable.
It's been a long time, but to get the pipe out, you have to get you have to take it out in segments, and you have to get like a driller out there. And it was expensive just to get it removed. And I was told, and I don't know if this is accurate because, again, I wasn't involved in that project. I was told that it's actually stuck. They got it so far down and it's wedged in there and stuck because they put 11 3/4 worth of stuff in a 12-inch hole, basically. And it's not laser. Wells are drilled like that. And it chafed the wire, and then they had to get some low profile wire. So there's a lot more to it. And I don't know, I think you would have to pull that pipe out minimally, and it'd be some expense, but we could look at it. I mean, there is a lot of water, and it's a deep well. I think it's 500 feet deep. I'm not sure it's
in the
deep.
mine too. The deepest part of mine too.
Yeah, there's a lot of water. It's not potable, but
and you couldn't drill inside that shaft and just drill through that pump and get rid of it.
I guess you can do anything, but I don't think that would be feasible. You'd have to get it out or go on top of it, but I think you'd minimally have to get the piping and cable out, wiring. And I looked into it once just to buzz it. It was going to be quite a bit of money. I had a tanker set up, and Ken Edwards said, "No, stop." Just
what does buzzing it mean? I don't know.
I was going to have an electrician come out, have a tanker sitting there, have some piping done, turn it on and run the pump for a couple of minutes, turn it off. And that was going to be like $2,500 or $5,000 or something like that, just to do that. Yeah.
So if we go to phase two, we'd have to probably stop construction over here if they needed water or get it somewhere else.
Or
not
just
from
have
our
to,
hydrants.
yeah, I mean, it's right. They'd have to get it from the lake or somewhere else. I mean, if we're in phase two, things are probably critical. We probably need to do that. Hopefully we don't end up in phase two.
Well, I'd just like to make sure that all these testing prohibited unless approved by the water department. I'd like to make sure that only unless we give this to the DOT or this big construction project. All due respect to other things maybe going on in the city, but
We have turned down lots of requests for people that want to come to our community and buy water and go work in Hackett or go work in Mansfield.
Right.
Because it's a convenience to contractors working within the city. We don't really make any money at it. A lot of times they stir up the water, and there's just a lot of issues. And we do it to keep construction going and to keep the city moving forward. So we're pretty selective about who we let do that.
Well, that would be a perfect reason if we could get that well going. You're not messing with any of that, the hydrants, the potable water, any of that. I mean, that would be a selling point.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'll see if I can find some paperwork. I don't even know if I have any paperwork on that well anymore, but see what the GPMs. It's a real high capacity pump. It's a very expensive pump. And even if it works, that I don't know. There's just, you'd have to spend, you might have to spend more money than the amount of water you'd ever sell off of it, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Tim has agreed to climb down in there and get it.
Tim, did you
What did it say?
Dynamite.
mention number 6?
I did.
Okay,
did.
I was
And-
gone.
And the same too.
And I guess in relation to number 6, I mean, on phase 2, you know, you're down there and at number 7, you know, you said that the use of water from cities resources for compacting dirt, basically for, I guess, like saying street building or whatever, like what RDOT's doing, right? Is that what number 7 would be referring to?
Yes. In phase 2.
Yeah, phase 2.
Right.
I would still like to see that y'all put there that same phrase, unless approved by the water department, because there might just be some situation. To me, I mean, that's a commercial endeavor, you know, that I think.
This is an ordinance that can certainly be done. You know, it affects the city. It doesn't really affect the water department. So that's why I've never really changed it. I'm okay with the ordinance, but we're going to run afoul of it. We're going to be breaking our own ordinance, I fear, if we don't do
So
it.
Mr. Brown wants on 6 and 7 of phase 2, the same thing at it, right? Is that right?
I would like that. I don't know about what the other councils say, but
It needs the whole town that way. It needs the road. Like Mr. Spock once said. Something like that. Paraphrasing.
That's certainly all's call.
Well, they have the option you mentioned a while ago, and I think it happened last year. It wasn't RDOT, but it was, I guess, East Village drew water.
One of your contractors
There-
got water
there
out
is.
of the creek or out of the lake or something maybe?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. But that was
So-
offered up, I think, that
Yeah.
lake water or creek water or something. I
I
think.
mean, yeah,
Wasn't that on the plate for you, buddy, if you needed to? You had the option of getting it out of the creek, I think, if you had to. I think yeah, okay. Right. Yeah, you didn't have to, yeah. Okay.
Them RDOT boys will find water.
Yeah.
If we can't give it to them. They haven't cost us anything extra. If they gotta go look for it, we've already locked in our price.
That's true.
Might keep in mind that
That's true.
we do have to go to phase 2. The contractor on the traffic relief will probably be more than happy to drill you a well into
Yeah.
that instead of going once on.
That's probably true.
Like I
the
said, they'll
splash
find
pad
water.
is the other project
Yeah, I
that
was
this is
wondering
going to
if it was
affect.
splash pad.
Because they were talking about water the other day, needing water, and they're going to have water
You'd
for
think
the
a splash pad would
masonry.
have
and-
water.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, it's the masonry work and all that stuff. They've got to have water, so it's going to definitely affect them. They're on a tight schedule, so.
I'll make a motion, we put this on first reading by title only with the added verbiage to 6.
6
Second.
on the phase 1?
did
That's
you?
the one we were talking about, right?
Well, or what about the section 7 on phase 2?
Section 7, yes,
I like
That's
that.
why I asked,
okay.
because Mr. Brown wanted that same language on B, phase 2, 6 and 7, right?
Yes.
Just like it is
Yeah.
on,
Yes.
and that's what your motion is
That's my
reflecting?
motion.
Okay, gotcha. That's why I was clarifying.
Mr. Rainwater, did you second that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Terry,
No,
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Tedford,
Yes.
and Mr. Powell.
Yes,
Passes by majority. An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance 02-15, establishing water conservation procedures for the city of Greenwood, Arkansas, providing for penalties for failure to comply with the conditions of this ordinance, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Can we just drill a well them upside that? It's too-
He would like it way past an emergency. Right? Yes. Because we're needing it now.
I'll make a motion, we waive the second and third reading.
Second.
Motion and second to waive second, and third reading.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Terry,
no,
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Tedford,
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, it passes by majority.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion and second to adopt.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Terry,
no,
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Tedford,
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes,
Passed by majority.
I make a motion, we enact the emergency clause.
Second.
Motion is second to enact emergency clause.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Go.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Passes by majority.
Thank you, gentlemen. Move to number 9. It's a resolution authorizing use of federal aid program funds for Bell Park paving project. Casey, you want to speak on this or not? Basically, correct me if I'm wrong, only. This is the funding that, sir? Yes. This is the $200,000 grant that was approved some time back for the Iron Bridge, the old Iron Bridge. And we, the Parks Commission Department realized, I'm paraphrasing horribly here, it's going to cost a whole lot more than $200,000. So they put that on hold, if you will. Then we requested through RDOT if we could use that funding on another project, which is the paving of Bell Park, the rest of Bell Park Trail, beginning in the Oaks, or that's the plan, from the Oaks all the way up to the pickleball courts. Correct?
That's correct.
So same money, same grant. And we recently received a letter from Lori Tudor approving this from RDOT to do that. They don't always let you just move a grant around, but they're okay with this one.
What is the deadline? I mean, when does it run out?
I don't think it really has one. I mean, I'm assuming if we didn't do anything in a couple of years, they would probably be wondering why we're not spending the money, but
There's still an outstanding parks grant from 2017.
yeah, it really doesn't.
So this was originally applied for the old Iron Bridge,
Correct.
our old Iron Bridge.
Right.
At the City Lake, yep.
Okay.
I think Tammy's the one that originally,
Yeah, she did, and they did not award.
oh, that's right.
They didn't
get
even
awarded
award
first,
a
that's right.
20% of the
And
project.
So that's what it's for right this moment.
It's already been
It's already-
reappropriated
What's it reappropriated to?
to pave the city trail from the Oaks that's currently gravel to Bell Park.
And what's the estimated cost of that project total?
All the last estimate that we had was for more contracting. Luckily, they have the base down already, so they already have to do the asphalt. It's 210,000.
To complete the project.
That's correct.
And this grant is for how much?
200. It's a 80-20 grant. So we have more than enough sitting there to complete the project.
So it'd just be 40,000 for the city,
Bell
basically.
Park,
I
right.
would ask Casey, and I know we've talked about this, how good is that proposal?
He's one of the best asphalt
mean,
guys in the area.
Not good, but up to date, do you think?
How valid is it still?
Yeah.
They had it shortly after I started here, so it's going to be inflated a bit, but
Yeah.
would still be in the ballpark. We
Okay.
certainly wouldn't over.
210,000?
Sorry,
210,000?
that's correct.
And the grant is 200,000.
That's correct.
So we'd only be out 10,000.
Well, it's 80-20.
It's 80-20.
Oh, 80-20.
I
Okay.
have a hard time with the 80-20, the matches. I'm sorry.
So it'd be 40 and then we'd have to do another 10. So it'd be 50,000, right? Is that the way I
Plus
see it?
20 to get up to date, and there's an old bid. So
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. I think it's a great project. I think a lot of people.
Yeah, basically we get it done for 50,000.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
It would give us a full paved loop on the trail.
Yeah.
And that was the intrigue of the project.
Fantastic.
I make a motion.
Where do we stand on that?
That's what we were going after. We found out that we had the opportunity to repurpose the grant. That's what we're bringing. So this is in the, that's in the parks.
Long time, yeah.
I make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
second,
Motion and second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes,
Unanimous.
Thank you,
we're
gentlemen.
gonna have
Thank
this done by fall.
We have a set, we've already turned in a set of 30% engineering plans. to RDOT. Craft and Toll's working on it right now. I just got an easement that we needed from Miss Bell to go through her property. I need to double check on one more easement before I'm able to really turn Craft and Toll loose on it. I mean, I think it would be optimistic, but they got me 30% plans in a hurry, like 2 or 3 weeks. But they're about to get in the harder stages of having to correspond back and forth with RDOT. So
Be great to see it done.
I know, I totally agree.
And if there's anything you can do for at some point, there would be a request. Once people get out there walking on it, they're going to say, it's dark. We need lights.
I know.
So if there's a sleeve that could be put in where we don't dig everything back up and blow it all back up, that would be great.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
I'd like to add, Case, not, you can sit down, thank you. But this trail, and Rod will remember what I'm talking about. This trail that they're getting ready to pave is a trail that Rod, myself, and Mike Davidson, and the one and only Vernon Stewart took us out on, and I couldn't keep up with Vernon Stewart. So this is a gentleman that was all about trails and parks and everything else. And he was walking that trail and everybody got covered in ticks. But it was, I remember that day and always will when he trudging through those woods up there. And Mike,
Showing us where all the prospective places for the buried gold was.
exactly. He had a story for every tree.
Because there's buried gold
Yeah.
out there.
Making my head itch now that I said ticks.
For some reason, Spanish soldiers lugged gold
Yeah.
all the way to Greenwood,
Greenwood.
Arkansas, and decided to bury it out there. He didn't quite clear that up with
Right.
me, but
Right.
I'm not sure why they did that.
Yep. He had some good
His gold's
stuff.
heavy.
That's right. All right. I just had to throw that out. That's a good memory. Thank you, Casey. Let's see. We are
Number 10?
number 10.
What's the law, before we move on, Mr. Mayor, about prospectors up there for Chief Hobbs? And all these idiots go up there and start trying to dig.
That's
Never mind, Mr. Mayor.
I've got two of my dad's old metal detectors. Number 10, the city clerk treasurer discussion of adding MS Teams and council email addresses.
Steve Tedford put in a request to have council, if we could get council the GWARK email addresses for your use. And also, I guess he prefers maybe MS Teams. Feel free to expound.
Well, MS Teams is just an application you can use as a chat for, it would be for like the council members, and you could give access to press. I think there's guest access capabilities, but most companies use this to communicate back and forth. Since we're using basically text to communicate with each other, it just seems this might be a little bit more efficient. I was hoping that this could be implemented without any kind of price tag associated with it, but it looks like there is. If everybody's happy with the way things are working, then I'd say we need to really worry about it. But I mean, I'm already getting vendors who are sending emails to my personal email address. So I'm going to create another Gmail address for my council work just to keep that separate. But I mean, I was hoping the technology was there and available for free, but it looks like it's not. So up to anybody else if you wanted to spend the money on it.
How much?
It's in, I put the sheet in your tablets, I think, or I don't know if I gave it to you in paper. But it's $432 a year to add email and Teams for 6 council members. This is approximate from DCR. $456 a year to add a user-friendly way to perform FOIA discoveries. Say that anybody put in a FOIA request on any correspondence between council. And I do want to say that I shy away from any kind of council correspondence outside of a meeting. Like when I text you guys, it's always just to set up a meeting time. And I'm always throwing it out there. This is, do not discuss things over text. And I feel like MS Teams would just be kind of exacerbating that too. But that's
If you had MS, would it be harder when you got that FOIA request would it be easier or harder to just send that FOIA request out?
Well, DCR recommended purchasing Chromebooks for all the council members so that they could use that device for these teams. And reason why is because they don't want to put it on your personal device because it'll have to be wiped if you're not a council member anymore. And we don't really want that mixture all up in your personal device. So the Chromebooks would be to utilize these two things that were requested, because then a Chromebook could be given to the IT department. Are brilliant and excellent. We just love them. And they could extract and send to the city attorney for any redactions, anything that would be FOIA'd.
Could these iPads not be used yet?
I think they could. These tablets.
I don't have any problem with the group
Tablets.
text we've got right now.
You know,
I'm
the
sure
only-
that Newcomb and Mr. Dawson enjoyed the Merry Christmases they got to see when they FOIA. This is the last time.
Well, I mean, the only thing that makes it burdensome is if somebody wants to FOIA your phone because you've sent text messages back and forth to another councilman.
It's already been done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this would hopefully be a way to avoid that, because you basically have the notepad or this or whatever it is, and I could just, there'd be a team there. And when I put a request in there, say, what did y'all think about this? Then y'all could each chime in, and through a guest access, there could be FOIAs or however it's done. But at least this keeps my own personal device from being FOIA'd.
And the problem too is FOIA itself prohibits council members talking to each
discussing
other and
amongst each other.
discussing anything over
Right.
that kind of medium.
So
It's
best
usually
to
just
delete
making
the
fun of
text.
people.
Right. It's best to not even do that.
Right.
Yeah, we got to sit
We'll get
through
some legal
an
trouble.
hour or hour and a half of FOIA instructions at municipal league.
Oh
this
yeah,
year.
it's a big deal.
Most of our discussion is just making fun of people, but we can. We don't ever discuss voting habits.
So as far as the GWARK emails, I think if someone were to get on our website, there is a way for them to send you an email through GWARK right now. Is it just city, or do they each have?
I know, like with Steve, I think I just sent in.
Kind of boring since Daniel's gone now.
Yeah.
But I can change it if he wants to make him undo.
Yeah, and that's probably the easiest way for me. It's free for me to create a Gmail, and I can isolate those.
So anyways, this was Steve's request. I just thought that the council should have input, and there it
And
is.
I appreciate you pursuing that. I really
You're
do.
welcome. Want to show you that we care.
Mhm.
I don't think Steve's on.
So if no action, then no action, but it's a request. If you ever feel like you want to do it.
Going back to it. Okay. Good.
Good.
Okay. Resolution by the police department. That's what I wrote down. I'm sure there's a better.
The
word.
Sally Port one, yeah.
Yeah, Sally Port. Chief.
Mayor, council, Madam Clerk, basically asking to move the monies that we saved from trading in the cars for that one particular vehicle, to move that over to the, to funding the Sally Port. I talked to Travis. He's on vacation this week, gone to New York, but he's going to have me an estimate on how much that's going to cost later this week. And basically, that's what I'm asking permission to move that money that we saved from the car over to that for the expense of the Sally Port.
Sounds good.
Yep. Sounds real
Is
good.
this going to meet code and ordinances? and
Yes, sir.
been Through the planning department?
Yes, sir. It's going through Travis, MAHG,
Yeah.
and engineer that's
Does it need-
required by the city.
Does it need a culvert?
No, sir. No, sir. Well, they might look at the drainage.
Any gold on the property?
They might look at drainage.
Um,
Any questions?
my question is, so it's considerably more than 38,000 now.
Well, it's going to be more than 38,000 because you have to get the engineer involved, but he hasn't given me the exact price
You
just
think
yet.
it'll be under 50?
I don't know. I don't think.
Because the reason why is, do we need web bids? on it, or are you going out for bid?
I'm gonna wait to hear back from Travis. Right now, I'm just asking for the monies,
Gotcha.
for permission to move that monies from saving on the car to this building.
have the money, then it's no use that.
True. Yeah.
What this does is you have a line item capital budget. And all the savings on one item is unappropriated. So what you can do is reallocate that. That's what he's asking to be done. So it will actually move, and he'll end up with an amount that would now be budgeted for the salary port of 75,000. That's in your, in there, 75,000.
Yeah, because you already had about 39 budgeted or whatever before,
Yes, sir.
right?
38 was budgeted. It's gonna be over that. I don't expect it to be the 75, but I don't expect it to be the 38 either. And I think
Motion that we adopt the resolution.
I second it.
Motion and second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Yeah.
if I may add one more thing, just to ask, or just to let the council know, I've talked to the mayor about trading in some older equipment, some power ball, or, my mind went blank, pepper ball weapons that's been in use for about 5 years. We got an estimate on the trade-in would be trading them in for $2,700. That $2,700 would be used to buy additional equipment, whether it might buy a radio or something that we need. We'd be trading in, we'd get 2,700. I think it was for like 15 ish pepper ball weapons that's been in use for 5 years, wear and tear. Some of them's not working, but a lot of places said they wouldn't even give us the money. So this place is it's money we could use somewhere else.
Chief, what's the distance on those pepper ball guns?
Like 20-ish.
I got some deer deterrent. It is.
And then also some tasers that I'm basically trying to clean out the box. Some tasers that was bought in the Keith Jackson era, early 2000s, that you can't even have refurbished. You can't do anything with. We're gonna try to trade those in as well. I get y'all's permission. Oh, I got the mayor's permission. I just want to be transparent and let y'all know.
Allow the trade-ins.
Second.
Motion
I
second.
don't think it was required, but okay.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
You're good. Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Tedford?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous on that.
But you want a pepper ball gun left out, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I didn't even
Off the
shoot
record.
about
And a
40
taser.
yards.
40
You want
yards.
some
With
more?
those pepper balls, that, I mean.
All right.
Put the taser up
Thank you,
there.
gentlemen. Thank you, Chief.
mm.
Number 13 is a bid opening. Mr. Brown wanted to, we obviously wanted to discuss this, so we got it on the agenda for, so I'll let Mr. Brown.
I just saw that in the folder. I was wondering
Yes.
what,
So I could not be more disgusted with this project. And I say that as lovingly as I possibly can. This, if anything will ruin a vacation, it's going to Seattle and enjoying 65-degree weather and then getting a call that your third bid opening went like this one did. This, as you know, we have a $500,000 grant has been approved for some time through Wapidity. It's AEDC grant. Tracy McKenna helped us get that, and we're still holding on to it. $500,000. I keep saying $500,000 because that's the same way I say to MAHG. And for the third time, we value engineered again and put this back out for bid. I had really high hopes that one of these contractors would come back and be able to do it for that amount or less. And as you see, it didn't work. We went from 657 apparent low to 784, 689 to 815. Unfortunately, that apparent low showed up with, and I wasn't here, but I know because I got the texts and the calls. They showed up without a bond, which throws them out immediately, even though they were as close. That was closest we've seen to $500,000. So they weren't. We can't even consider them. So leaves the other two. The next one is 784, 689. If you take the other deductives off of it, I think that's going to leave about 750, which is still $250,000 over our grant. It just boggles my mind that you can't remodel a facility for $500,000, much less 750. Good news is, if it is good news, and we'll know tomorrow morning if it's good or not. Josh, I don't know Josh's last name with AEDC, the grant man, is coming down here tomorrow with Tracy McKenna. We're going to take a visit over to, I think Hunter's going, I'm sure, and Danielle will probably go with us. And we're going to go over and visit the existing center that Frank works his heart out over there. And he wants to tour that center. He wants to see what they have, what they don't have, why the need for another one, even though they've already approved the grant, obviously. And then we're going to leave that facility and go out to the facility that we purchased. I think, and I don't want to get everybody's hopes up, certainly my own, because it's been a ride. I think Josh is looking, or has acknowledged, or is kind of acknowledging the fact that things are, as we all know, crazy. The cost of things is outrageous. So he's kind of seeing that originally $500,000 was not going to do what we needed to do. So that's the purpose of the visit tomorrow. I'll know more. I don't think he'll tell me right then. We're going to get you more. The point is, we're going to try to get more from the grant.
When is the tour tomorrow?
10:30. We're going to meet at the center at Betty Wilkinson, and then we'll go from there out to the other building, however long that takes.
So there's no way of getting them moved in and just.
Sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, go ahead.
This has kept me up at night a lot, and really, and I'm not, doesn't matter. It's
right.
But we could ignore the grant. We could say, we don't want your $500,000 grant, and we could probably get them in over there in a couple of months and just do a little bit at a time. I could, redirect some street labor, if you will, and do some things and get them in. What I promised those folks, and what we've talked about all along, and I'm been public with this all along, the building is doable as it is. What it doesn't have is a card room, if you will, in a billiard room separate. It's all one big open dining room, kitchen, bathrooms, that sort of thing. Now, when you go to an engineer, as we all know, it's just a fact. When you go to an engineer, they want things at a different style. I don't know how to put it. Yeah, the kitchen definitely needs some work on the plumbing and moving things around to better equip. I mean, we could go out there tomorrow and I could put that crew, I'm pointing at Frank, I could put those folks out there in that building. They could be as good off. And this is not against Farmers Bank building. Don't misunderstand me, please. What they have is good, and they've made it work for years. But if you're going to put them, you want them to have the right equipment and in the right spot. They are so, as good as you can get. So it's very frustrating. We can't get it done. If I didn't have a grant, and I'll just go out on a limb and say this, and there's nothing official about it, but if I didn't have a grant and we had $200,000 extra somewhere to go toward this facility, I could have them in. I could hire somebody local and get it done. So,
and that would meet, like saying, engineering and
it would not.
architecture.
It would meet everything legal and engineered to get them in. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Now, if Travis Bartlett was here, he could probably say yes and no, because and I love Travis. I admire him. I appreciate him, but we kind of start with gold, solid gold, and then we work our way down. Now that's just me talking. I'm not an engineer and I'm not an architect, so I think you could get it done for a couple of $100,000.
Well, obviously, we'd like to wait for the gentleman that's coming in to see if he can bump up your $500,000.
Right.
But like you just said, we want to put those folks in there as good as we can get.
That's right.
And that's $500,000 of upgrades.
Yes.
Right.
And is there, again, with these grants, is there no way they can be repurposed to the Farmers Bank?
No, we have, first of all, we don't own it. Second of all, it's in the floodplain.
Yeah.
And third of all, it's not for sale. Now, I could back up off of one of those. I thought about, just to be honest with you, or perfectly candid, I thought about getting Stanhope or going over there and saying, hey, you want to talk a swap here? You know, how about we sell you our property out there that's going to be worth a lot of money one of these days? And I'm not inclined to get rid of it in just a couple of years. I just know it's going to be worth a lot of money. You got a I don't know what it is. It's not going to be a Buc-ee's, but somebody's going to build a facility right across the street. And then one of these days, RDOT's building a highway about 2 miles from it one of these days. So that property is going to do nothing but increase. But no, to answer your question real bluntly, you certainly can't use the grant on a building that we don't own. And Farmers Bank's not eligible for that grant at all. And then second of all, it's floodplain. So they wouldn't touch it. All that being said, tomorrow, I hope to have, and I don't know that he'll answer me tomorrow, but he'll probably go away and come back and call and say, hey, we might have another. It'd be nice if he had another $250,000 to meet that last bid, but that's the story, or that's the skinny.
And so there's a potential to get more money.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's the whole point of the visit. Yeah.
Wasn't there an additional project that fell through?
Yeah. Tracy shared with me. She didn't get the specific on it. I don't think she was able to or shouldn't, but there was a project that was unfunded, but that money is sitting at AEDC. She didn't say how much it was. She just said it's there. And I think that's what their goal is, to try to tap into that.
That'd be good.
We were told up front from the beginning, and this has been going on now for a while, as y'all know, that there probably wasn't any more money. I mean, and that's how they start. That's kind of typical. You can't get any more. You got $500,000. What more do you want? And then they kind of start, well, maybe. And now he's coming down for a visit to see and he understands and appreciates. I will say this. This is a quote from Tracy. And I say he is Josh with the grant. He appreciates the fact that the city has bought into this so much. We paid $825,000 and some change, I think, for that building. Bought it, paid for it. It's ours. That's a big buy-in, if you will. So they see that as we're not just asking for free money. We've made it a commitment. Tracy even asked. She said, "Well, they're all still in it, aren't they?" And I think Frank could testify. When I go over there to talk to these folks and try to keep them updated, it's hard sometimes to talk to them because they just have this look of, please, let's get this thing going. So
I was just wondering, I mean, how much has the MASG charged us for the 3 designs or the 3?
Well,
you're going to go out for bid.
I don't know what the top. Tom, you can say, probably answer that.
I don't know what is in their pipeline to get to us, but we spent $39,400 already.
Yeah. And let me throw this out there too, because again, I want everything out. We've spent money on engineering, and we still have something to consider out there is the fire protection or fire. What do you call it? Well, yes, fire protection, possibly a retention pond, which comes from fire chief. But we don't know. And we've got prices on that. They're crazy too. But we're also I'm going to talk to the chief. He's not here tonight. He wasn't feeling good, but I'm going to have a visit with him. And I'm not sure that we are required to do that. And the fireman on the council here could probably maybe do better than I can. But if it doesn't have to be a retention pond, I'm going to talk to him about a truck. You have a truck. You're gearing up a truck. I'm talking about a tanker truck. So those are still some looming things too. Again, because I'm not sure what that line is out there. Where's Tim? They're gone. It's a James Fork line. It's not big enough for fire protection, or suppression, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
So the current bids, even the minimum one, doesn't include fire protection?
No.
Well, I think that should be considered. I mean, I think if somebody was coming to us with a project, we would be asking them all to meet, engineering, fire code and
absolutely.
all that, I mean,
Oh, I'm not putting people out there without fire suppression.
well, I know, but I mean, it satisfy the, disability requirements and, everything would be, engineered out. We just wouldn't be kind of just going in there and say, oh yeah, y'all can just kind of, put something together and stuff. It'd have to be a project and,
Oh, I agree.
satisfy,
That's why we're
everything.
doing it this way.
So the way it's designed and bid out, it meets ADA,
Absolutely.
it meets the occupancy, but there's no fire code been taken into consideration.
No, the retention pond is what would have to be, is what is being, the retention pond, if that's the right term for it, is what is needed at this point per fire chief.
I would say internal fire code as far as sprinklers and such inside is probably in the bid
Don't have to have it doesn't have to be
or
sprinkled.
whatever there is to meet fire code
Yeah.
for the building.
Yeah, this building, because of
But as far as getting water to it,
Right.
it's not in the bid.
correct.
Yeah, so that goes back to where, that's the reason the first place burnt down, because we couldn't put it out because there was no water.
Yeah, kind of.
And also we required a
Which
church
is
out there to have a pond.
retention pond, right?
And so I think that should
Well, we
be-
didn't, the state fire marshal did, right?
Yes, and so
They're not in the city limits.
I think that that should be included in the overall project. The cost of it.
Totally. I have no intention of not being included. Yeah, we've already got an engineer
$4,000 spent on engineering, right?
for the pond, yeah.
And so did they say how much that would cost?
Do we have a cost on that? Brixie Engineering did the pond. We paid for the engineering. I don't think we have a cost yet, and it was digging the pond and the plumbing that goes in the pond. Y'all know probably better than it's something you hook your,
It was just a fire hydrant sucking from the bottom of the pond.
yeah, right.
Yeah, it just sucks from the bottom of the
Right.
pond. But you put it out without killing everybody inside,
Sure.
Last time it was a restaurant, nobody was there.
Right.
So.
No,
that wasn't
there
fair.
has never been any intention at all whatsoever. And we couldn't get the grant even though it doesn't require it. We're not gonna, that's not anything to mess with. That's never been an intention of sidestepping fire suppression.
But the grant gets paid for.
Sir,
It's not included in the grant.
that's correct.
So that's why
Yeah.
that's not part of that.
Right.
It's separate.
Right.
Just for, since I'm late to the party here.
Mhm.
You said it does not have to be sprinkled. Why is that?
Because of the occupancy,
Okay,
there's not square footage of the building.
okay.
Believe me, chief would let me know that real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the longer this goes, the more higher cost it's gonna be.
The sprinkler system is not supposed to protect the people. It more protects the building
Right.
because, we had an issue with one building in town. They went kind of around the building code on the height of a wall. And the sprinkler system was there and they pointed to that as not a reason for not having another means of egress out of the building.
Yeah.
But then because the wall wasn't built to code and they were told they could do that because of the sprinklers, smoke still comes in over that and that's how people are going to die.
Right.
And so,
You're
yeah,
talking about First Baptist Church?
I wasn't talking about any particular building.
No particular.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yes.
But I know the building you're talking about, yes.
All these
that-
discussions
Sir,
someday come up with an attorney when something happens, when we're not doing our due diligence.
I'm sorry? We're not suggesting that we're not doing our due. I don't understand I don't understand that it's almost like there's
I was,
somebody suggesting that we're gonna do this without fire
we
suppression.
hadn't done that yet, but we.
And we're not going to.
Yeah.
We're not going to.
No.
I can't.
I think you're talking about
No, I'm not-
past
Yes,
problems.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about past.
Well, I wasn't sitting here
Right.
at that time, so. But I can promise you, I have no intention and will not put anybody in a building that is not protected by fire suppression, one way or the other.
Well, that pond's been talked about since day one of us even purchasing the property out there.
Right, yeah, that's not a surprise. That's,
No.
So I guess my question is, if we don't get this to come closer to the 500,000, and we're still looking at a pond on top of that,
Mhm.
so are we then looking at, do we fund the balance of that?
I don't want to ask you until I know.
Okay, I
But-
just want to make sure I understand where we're going.
If I can go out for bid again, there's no law about, you can go out a dozen times.
You know, Stuart, when he orders a fire truck, excuse me, Chief Brian, he puts out the specs of what he wants on that deal.
Mhm.
I don't know what these bids involve since we don't get to be a part of the bidding process anymore or whatever. But it seems to me like you could do that, reverse engineer and say, all we want is this wall here and a room over here and this kitchen upgraded.
That's exactly what I did
I mean,
3 times.
right?
And every time
We've taken things out.
Have you talked to a different engineering firm?
my plan as it is stands right now, if this doesn't go well tomorrow, or when I find out back from him tomorrow, after tomorrow, maybe a week, is to move on to another engineering company.
Yeah.
For sure, and start all over.
I mean, I just feel like Bill and Tom Johnson's remodeling service could do it for
Well,
$200,000.
and so the grant, so here's the rub, if you will, is the grant requires certainly the engineering and all that.
I get all that.
So, and you want it for the safety of the people, you want it for not a good building, a secure building, a safe building, a code building, but man, it puts you in a bind sometimes. So, there's a couple of options, but option probably one is to start over with fresh people.
Just straight beer budget. Just make champagne take.
It started, believe me, it started out that way, and we've had, I don't know how many meetings we've had, but
Well, I sympathize with you, Mayor, because it's frustrating. It's a big eyesore. It's a black, what's the word, mark on what's going on now. That building is still out there empty.
Sure. And the folks that are waiting for it
Yeah.
are very patient. I'm not sure how long that'll last, but anyway,
We got a lot of money invested in it.
We do.
It's nice to be in the thing.
absolutely.
And they deserve to be in that
They
building.
do.
Sure.
So I'll have hopefully it'd be nice if I had some really good news for you after tomorrow. If I don't, I'll be,
If you put it out for bid, so this is the 4th time,
this was the 3rd time.
so the
Good.
cost from MHG right now has been roughly $40,000. So does it cost another 10,000 to put it back out for bid?
To be honest with you, I haven't asked that question. Then probably should have, but I haven't asked.
Problem is, if we put it out, there's too many times for like, that's the worst. The large majority of that primary expense was with the design of the building and all of the engineering, to which has just been altered every other bidding process.
I mean, I would, sorry, go ahead.
No, that was the extent where I
Well, I guess that's what I was thinking, how many times are we going to put it out for bid? Before we kind of look at, another alternative.
So just looking at it from an economic perspective, we're in a time of rapid inflation, and that's impacted this project in a very negative way.
Sure.
Inflation usually doesn't go back. Usually you meet that point, that new point, and it's on flat from there. So I don't know that we're ever going to see any kind of decrease. There's not any point in really waiting for the prices to come down. But
You were suggesting we need to start trying to figure out how to cover the other $250,000.
well, I'm not saying that so much as I'm just saying that it's the costs are probably never going to decrease. And we just have to make a decision to fish or cut bait at some point.
Well, we spent 800 G's, we'll say right now, so we're invested 800 grand. We can get $500,000. So now you're 1.3 million. And so we might as well pony up $250,000 and get this thing going and get the people moved out there and up and running.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we
You
have
will be
to.
here in a minute when you get done.
I'm just saying that it's, you either decide you're not going to do this project, or you
Which
have
we
to.
can't, because like I said, we've already got 800 G's or 800 grand involved in the purchase.
Or you could sit on the property and maybe sell it for, a profit in the future, but then you've got what you're living with right now.
But I'm saying, to me though, too, if we have to come up with pony up with another 250, I'd just like to see what 250 would do with the Farmers Bank, and refurbish that.
Why
Raise it up a
why
few
would you
feet.
refurbish Farmers Bank building?
Because it's right here in town and,
It's not ours.
Huh?
You're gonna donate $250,000 to a bank?
Isn't that what we're proposing with the Masons?
No, not at all. We're proposing donating a lot to them.
We're not donating.
Trading them.
We're
trading them a lot for a lot.
We're leasing them a lot.
Okay, even better.
Okay.
So that's not at all what we're proposing.
That's what it is. We're on the other side of that. We're the Masons leasing a building from farmers. It's the same concept.
How do you
It's just-
justify
it's a different-
$250,000 going to a bank from the city of Greenwood for their building?
Because we're proposing the Masons to do that. That you own your land, but we want you to just lease the land and build a building on it, on land you don't own. But
that's still not the same. It's not, I don't see
it's
where's the $250,000?
The $250,000
donation to Farmers Bank.
It's not a donation. It
is if you put it in their building.
Yep.
And so is the Masons building going to be is it going to be our building or is it going to be the Masons?
It's the Masons. But
how's it going to be their building if it's
we're
on
not
our
paying for
land?
the building? We're not building that building.
Right, but they're building it on city land.
Correct.
So it's on land they don't own.
Okay.
So we don't own the land over there, but
We're not donating.
Don't own the building either.
We don't own the building.
We don't own the land.
That's not even close to being.
Definitely
I know, but still, but it is
Yes, sir.
I believe you're going to get it worked out. And please remember, you're doing this for the people that have built Greenwood.
That's right. Thank you.
Take them into consideration when you're debating.
I'm ready to fight to the bitter end. This has been very frustrating, but this is.
And I'm just saying that to me that I think, we haven't seen a project that, about as far as renovating, Farmers Bank, something that, yes, there's no cost in it for us as far as the land, but that happens, like I said, we're proposing it for the Masons. It happens in the corporate world all the time to say, oh, we don't own that, but we're, securing it for $1 a year, so in essence, if you have it for 40 years, you've gotten the life out of that building.
Draw the coalition there. I don't know what. Yeah.
What's the Masons return?
Well, they still own the building, they're getting their lease, so at some point. that's
Yeah,
gonna
probably.
work out. Travis was gonna work out. What that air lease was gonna be when they decide that they no longer want to use the property. So there's gonna be some remuneration somewhere for that building that's on our property.
I think our return with the Masons is they agreed to give us some land.
Yeah, we swapped. I said that earlier. We took their property to build a street on, right? Which is going to be our street, not a highway, a city street. So in return, we are letting them build on a piece of property that we own.
And again, are we really looking for if you have access to the building and you're using it as you want to use it, and the lifespan of that building is, 20, 30 years, have you not used the life of that building?
We've already bought the building. You're using the same argument that you used when you voted no on the building. We purchased the building out there. That got voted down. Your objection got voted down. We own that building.
Sure.
So no, our goal is to put it to use.
I know, but
Period.
so far we haven't been able to put
That's
it to
right.
use.
And I'm working
because-
hard to do it.
And I'm saying, or so we're gonna just keep
I'm
going
not
for bid
asking,
and for bid.
I am
for
not
bid?
here to ask council for $250,000.
Okay,
If, when I do, I expect this kind of discussion, but I'm not,
okay.
to be fair. I haven't asked for anything. I will come back and ask you for the pond money because I brought it up, as Mr. Terry pointed out, initially. That was talked, and the engineering, that was talked about up front. No ifs, ands, or buts. But if I come back to you, if I have to come back to you, and I might, then I would expect this discussion.
But he was honestly just telling us up front that he's gonna meet with those folks tomorrow and see what they got to put out to us. And hopefully they've got extra money. They may come back and give us extra money for that grant, which would help us out to get those folks in that building.
Yes, sir.
With the auditors who are gonna be here next week, would the auditors even allow you to put $250,000 in somebody else?
I'm not an auditor, but I would say no.
They won't.
Well, I'll prefer that to Tom. Would an auditor allow us to do that?
I don't see why they would walk at something that the council's going to approve, but I don't know of any legal reason why you couldn't do that. Just
I mean,
a wise idea to
don't we-
lease property versus own.
No,
Don't
Fort-
instantly we do
Fort
that with the
Smith
boys?
leases Their building.
Hmm?
Fort Smith leases theirs.
They lease their city
Yeah.
offices.
All their offices, they lease all that. I don't know who owns it. They
Well,
lease it. I just read it in the paper.
Stevens owns that.
Stevens?
That's the Stevens building.
I'd read it in the paper that they lease almost everything. It's like a long lease.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, they just renewed it.
Yeah.
all right. I believe that is the last item on the agenda. I'd like to make a couple of comments before we move on, before I forget it. David Moore, a street department employee's mother-in-law, passed away today. So please remember he and that family in your prayers. And then we have a good update on Kristen, who received an excellent report on her MRIs. Surgery is working, is what I'm told. So I've been over there a few times this couple of weeks, went over and swore in a new officer. Thank you for the honor and privilege to get to do that. I want to say on that note, the reason I said that is Kristen was looking good and bossing everybody around. So things are back to normal. That's right. And she told me where to go and when to be there. So the chief is doing an outstanding job at the police department. I kind of joke with it when he got hired, and he said, "Can I start chiefing?" And he's chiefing away, I like to call it. Please go over there and visit, see how things are being done. They've got a really beautiful insignia of the badge on the wall when you walk in. It's backlit. Actually got two because it was broke when it came, so he's got two of them. That looks nice. But the point I want to make is what he's doing with these swearing in ceremonies is amazing. All the families there, a lot of friends. We had several department heads show up the other day, which shows support, I think, for your department and that new officer. So thank you for doing that, and you're doing a good job. Again, we went to Municipal League. I learned a lot. I think the rest of us did. We had a good crowd that went. Things are happening with them, and we're learning things. Bob, did you want to give a quick update on your Economic Development Committee? I didn't get to go to that. I was out of town.
Premature, but I'll give it him.
Okay.
We're going to institute, Buddy's idea.
Yeah.
Y'all have heard the welcome wagon. We're going to institute our own version of that to welcome our new residents to Greenwood. Involve businesses in the community, fairly complicated. We think we've got a great plan. I ain't got all the numbers yet. We're going to bring it back to y'all to let you know what we're doing, but I think it'll be really great for Greenwood. I think it'll be something like our new residents really feel comfortable. Look for the term, welcome home Greenwood.
Nice.
Sweet.
Appreciate that. All right. council forum, or I'm sorry, the department reports and questions from council. Still got a few here.
Clarify with the street department.
Mhm.
Y'all are aware that the Denver's falling apart just past the mine where those big trucks are coming out. And I've lived there for 30 years and it's never looked like this.
No. Mayor spoke with one gentleman at Ford. They're the ones that had the bond on it. And we're gonna make some temporary repairs. And if something falls through the cracks, I've got a plan for a permanent fix. I withdrew that tonight, knowing what we found. I think that's Friday.
Yes.
Okay. So we're on it. We just gotta pull the reins back a little bit. If they're gonna do something in the meantime to get that
And that,
stabilized.
So
that street was fixed only about 5 years ago using the money
State aid.
from the
State aid, yeah.
state aid. I mean, that's a new,
It's newer,
street.
but here's the deal, with the ones that are going out to the new bypass, they're using that little section of Denver, or they use the entire section of our West Center
yes,
to go to, so we want to keep them off West Center.
okay.
So if we've got to redo something, it's this much instead of this much.
So if I tell my neighbors and the people that jump me on it complain,
Yes,
we are sacrificing a small part of Denver to protect Tenspur,
exactly.
or not, it's no longer Tenspur,
West Center.
Center.
West Center Street.
Yes, that is correct. That's the only part of City
Okay.
Street they're on, everything else is state highway.
Okay.
And
It's-
some of it's gonna be ours afterwards, but we'll deal with that, I guess, when it comes.
Is Denver considered a collector?
But what,
Is it local collector or arterial?
well, it's turned into more of a arterial.
It connects highways, so.
People use it to bypass, I mean, quite honestly, when I was working for Smith, and from downtown when I came in, I took Denver to my house, because it was easier to get down.
I use it all the time. Yeah, it's
So
easier.
It's, and if I didn't do that, I went to 10,
Yeah.
and say the opposite.
Is
You
it,
know, it's the high times, but
it's not built to arterial.
it's not, so what my plan was to do is for a permanent fix. That part of the reason. That's the deal. So if we come to that, we'll take that bond and use whatever that is for that. What are the costs? I don't have the costs yet. I've asked for a cost.
My neighbors at the second question, they would ask me is, how long is this going to go on? So it's, we
I'm
got a
not the
year.
neighbor.
No, it's not him. He can speak for himself.
Like August 2026, I think the big orange sign.
That's right.
To 2026, okay.
Yeah, I mean.
So,
legitimately, I mean,
The worst part is the trucks not going to this project that come out of there, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Because I would agree with you. I've been behind some that have gone.
Yeah, the ones I followed are going north.
I
But they're
followed,
selling stuff out of there for their project.
I followed two yesterday and they went the other way. They went,
Okay.
and they went 71, 10 back in.
Right.
And
That's the
so,
way they're supposed to
big
be.
loop, yeah. I want to share with you the conversation. What's that gentleman's name? Kenny. We call him Kenny. He is the Forsgren superintendent on this job, Hooten, and he called me whatever day it was, and directly Hunter asked that he did, because we were questioning what you're questioning. And he called me, and Jeff had already made plans to go out for bid, or not go out for bid, but get that concreted out there and fix it. And Mr. Hooten informed me that, and I know it's a verbal, but there is a bond. And he said, before we touch the bond, Mayor, if you'll work with me, if you'll be patient with me, quote unquote, we will maintain that the best we can. We won't fix it permanently until we're finished. He said, I don't want to waste your time and your money, your bond money, and our time to fix it permanently, and then we mess it up again, because those dump trucks, that's what they do. So he guaranteed me, and I've given him his name now, so you know his name and you know mine. He guaranteed me that they will work with us and maintain that through the project, and then when it's finished, they'll come back and fix it permanently.
Can we either get a copy of that ordinance, or at least the ordinance number, so that we can research that? Because that, I think that ordinance that details the bond is pretty old.
Oh, it's very old.
Yeah, it's ancient.
It'd be nice to know exactly how that's structured
Sure.
and how you're supposed to document all that.
I'll
But,
send
but
one
there,
too.
there was a lot of thought and time and conversations that went in with Hunter, Jeff, Sonny, all of us sitting at the table with Forsgren. RDOT, I think, was there a couple of times to figure out Roll Ridge, who's also driving dump trucks in and out because they're taking that mountain down out there on the other side of the
That's
building.
who's going north.
Yeah.
That's who's going
Yeah,
north.
they also
I-
have sold material to RDOT.
Yeah.
So I think they got through with that and then they're going north. Yeah, I think you're right. So there's more dump trucks in this city than there's ever been because there's a lot going on. So they're on it. Doesn't say things aren't going to get tore up, but they're going to get put back like they were.
And when he's talking about the digging that's going on, are those companies that are doing all that digging?
Blasting out there and everything.
Yeah. Are they getting bonds as well?
Yes,
Okay.
I can say yes, but I want to point to him because he's the
Okay.
one that handles it. Yeah.
The permit, a bond accompanies the permit.
Well, for the blasting, that's a separate.
Well, I mean, the trucks are carrying a lot of material out of there.
They are.
So it's,
That's why for our purposes, for the RDOT, that Forsgren is the one that pays the bond. It's their bond that will
yeah.
revoke, if you will, if we have to.
Yeah, but I'm also talking about the trucks on the, where they're doing all the blast, where they're like off of 10 Spur over there where the big dig is. All those trucks that are carrying that off,
Yeah,
are
10.
they?
10 or
putting up
10
bonds?
spur. Burton's or 10.
Or 10.
I'm just talking about over, off of
Behind
10
Davis's
Spur
gym.
and Webster Street, up in that area.
Oh, that one, okay.
The big strip mine problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they. need
That's
to do
Roll
that
Ridge
as
up
well.
there.
Roll Ridge.
They're up there too.
It's Jacob Burton.
Property, right.
Who has the grading bond as required by ordinance. And then Forsgren is the primary contractor on site purchasing material from Royal Ridge, who has the bond in an agreement with Royal Ridge to bond that section of Denver.
Okay.
But if you're asking if Royal Ridge themselves have a heavy haul bond, that would work out between them and Forsgren on that section of Denver. So after the end of this highway project, any truck that would continue to use that street after Forsgren's bond was up would have to get a heavy haul bond. Best of my knowledge.
August 2026.
Whenever it is.
That's what it said.
And also, I wanted to follow up. There was a citizen who came up last week about the stop sign and the sinkhole. And I drove over there in Forest Hills, and I think the stop sign is just as easy as you can see. As soon as you turn on that road, you can see that stop sign. There's no missing it. But I was curious about did anybody go out there and look at their question about sinkhole?
Yeah, and we've got to go back. I won't take the mayor back there, but it looks like it's on their property. And so we'll have an easement issue there. It's going to be a problem.
Hmm.
So we may have to overcome that to fix what they're talking about.
But you don't know what's causing the problem?
Well, it's because they didn't reinforce that in the building. And so now it's crumbling in.
So again, it kind of goes back to an inspection thing at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately. We had the same thing happen right up here by the plant.
Hmm.
The entire structure's caving in.
Then we have more steel plates.
Yeah,
Joking.
so that's in the process too.
If we go into something like that, can we ask them to dedicate us more easements so we can work on it?
So we can manage, yeah.
That right there may get them to quit complaining if it were something, I think this is our fault. I mean, lack of inspection, lack of holding contractors.
It goes back, we're paying for the sins of our fathers.
Right. We're paying for the sin.
So,
But if we ask for another 20 feet of easement, they may go, Y'all just go away. I don't want you to give me 20 more feet in my front yard for y'all to do whatever with in 20 years.
Right.
So.
Anything else for the department heads?
Jeff, I gotta ask, what is your title? I've seen a business card, Public Works Director on it.
Well, I printed those before, I got that done, so street director.
All right, all right,
Should go through their black mark.
all right.
Chamber, you're not a department head, but but I got a question. So you're talking about I like the idea of the welcome wagon. That's, you're approaching someone who's moved in, right? Could it be possible that we do like North Little Rock and have a police officer drop by and hand them this? North Little Rock does that.
Don't get rain on his parade.
Huh?
Let the man do his deal. He was gonna be a councilman.
There is, we know work some details out about painting addresses. There's some privacy issues in there we have to address, believe it or not. It's like, there's stuff that a spam outfit can do that we can't.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at probably is either mail delivery, used to, somebody showed up at your doorstep with a basket full of goodies.
Yeah.
Stuff advertising,
Yeah.
the business page put in there. From what we've been able to research, that's not done anymore.
It can be done. It can be done.
This is maybe.
Well,
That's right.
it comes back because I remember a conversation the city attorney of North Little Rock had with me one time. And he said, they started doing that. And he said the patrol officer that kind of went through the area, that the chamber would give them all the welcome wagon baskets. He'd drop them off and say, hey, I'm Officer so-and-so, and I just wanted to introduce myself, and this is my normal route, and here's a welcome wagon basket and all that. And he said, the positive side of that is they found out that all the drug dealers said, I'm moving. If the police are going to drop by and knock on my door occasionally. So, and they moved to Little Rock, and they said, it worked out great. So.
You're picking on you.
I went to a meeting on behalf of the mayor, and some of that is talked around where that some of our builders could go at the closing, or we could have a couple of the bags, because the mayor has had me look into like magnets, or chip clips, or coffee cups with the logo on it. And then if we had other things, then, a lot of times I can hear, or Aaron can hear, who sits in front of me, when we have people moving in from out of state, things like that, so I could get up and go give them the bag, and, that sort of thing. Talk about
It's gonna be
that.
a markable, probably what they're gonna be given is a printed deal with coupons that tear out of it.
Okay.
Good. You want it to be something of value to the new person. Everybody's got a pencil and a ruler, but you want it to be something of value, whether it's money off of a meal or whatever it is. And also something that really gives a favorable introduction of a business to a new resident.
Okay.
And that's the big thing, that for the business to participate in it, it's valuable to him to be the first one to get his name from the resident.
We could load up Stewart's Tahoe or Chief Brian.
Hey, make sure that you give them the link to Greenwood, what's happening in case they lose their dog. Oh, my gosh.
All right, anything else from, for a department head, gentlemen? If not, we'll go right to council forum, which is kind
guess
of the same, but
I was gonna say, this kind of doubles back to the
Yeah.
department head, but I want to thank Dalton for helping out with the country club. Had a water issue out there. They were running low and they called me panicking. I wear a couple hats with here and there. And I call everybody I knew panicking, and Dalton took care of it, and they're happy now. So thank you.
Dalton's pretty good on panics. Anything else, gentlemen? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute. What about this gas thing here? Can I get city money gas?
You got in the mail, so I put it in your thing.
Does that mean I can charge my gas to the city?
No.
I'll make a motion with adjourn.
Okay, we have
Great.
second. You're adjourned. Thank you. Hey, you don't have to
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah. I was perking up when you said something like that.
What you got? Oh, sweet.
That's my meeting.
Portsmouth restaurants. I know those people.
But it's used